Hello and welcome to Gadget One. My name is Sham and today we're going to be reviewing the Google Pixel XL and Google Pixel. Now, it is one of the top phones which was made this year, and the thing special about this phone was it was designed by Google, the software in it is made by Google, it's manufactured by HTC, and it was made in Taiwan. Now, that's what makes this phone unique, and that's why it's been creating a lot of hype over the internet. Now, one thing about this phone is it's snappy fast. Just like if you have used an Apple iPhone or any other Apple device, you know that because the hardware and software is made by the same company, that it's very efficient and very snappy because they're just meant to work together. Now, unlike the S7 Edge or the LG G20, G5 series, or the HTC or any other smartphone that you can buy, this software was made by Google to work on this phone. It was customized by Google to work on this phone. It includes the Nougat 7.1 right out of the box. It is the first phone to have the Pixel launcher, and it is one of the best phones of 2016. Now, because of the pricing, which is $650 to $750 for the Pixel or $750 to $850 for the Pixel XL, depending on which gigabyte version you want, since it doesn't have a micro SD card, it does put it in the top tier model of phones, where the Samsung flagships and the Apple flagships and the LG flagships rely. Now, since it's on the same tier as other smartphones, we're going to be kind of comparing it to the other smartphones. And even though we compare it to the flagship phones from other companies which have been producing phones for God knows how many years, I would say that the first attempt by Google was really commendable. It is one of the best phones of 2016 in its lightning fast performance, and you get to see that all over when you use this phone in everyday use, whether it's opening an app, opening the camera, web browsing, watching videos, whatever you do, it just feels fast. In fact, just clicking on the settings button and opening the settings menu kind of feels extremely fast as well. Now, that's what works in the favor of this phone. Now, granted, it is missing a few bells and whistles, and you can view my video 20 reasons why the Google Pixel sucks to see what features this phone is exactly missing that other top-tier smartphones in this range have. And there has been a lot of buzz online about the pricing of this phone being too high because it was targeted towards the Nexus consumers of Android smartphones. The pricing is slightly too high, but it's kind of like comparing it to a laptop. When you go out to buy a laptop, if it's missing the CD drive, if it's missing the Bluetooth option, if it's missing the extra stereo radio music option, then do you not buy a laptop? You still do, right? Because you want the snappiest and the fastest performing laptop, and depending on the consumer, depending on what's important to you, I would say you should make this decision. Because if, for example, wireless charging is important to you, which is, in my personal case, it is important to me, that's why my daily driver is the S7 Edge, and I don't plan on changing it right now, despite reviewing the Pixel. So, if wireless charging is important to you, I would suggest going for another phone, because this phone does not include wireless charging. It doesn't have expandable storage. It doesn't have battery you can take out. What it does have is its snappy, fast performance and Snapdragon 821 processor to prove it. Now, all the benchmarks and all the results from this phone that we have done kind of put it at a subpar range. It was able to compete with the S7 and the S7 Edges of the world, or the iPhone 7s of the world. But I would say when it comes to the real world testing, this is one of the best phones which was made by Google, and it is the best smartphone, the best Android smartphone to have come out in 2016 or ever. And my reason is the following. Now, when your grandpa goes out to buy a phone, he would usually go for an iPhone. And I was in cell phone sales for a long time, so I personally know this. When you go out to buy phones, and if you're older, if you're not that tech oriented, you tend to lean towards things which are just plug and chug. You just take them out of the box and you expect them to work. And that's exactly what Google has done with this phone, in addition to it being a techie's phone. Now, it's Android, it runs Android, and you can customize it to the max just like any other Android phone. But right out of the box, this phone is simple and easy to use. It's snappy fast, and your grandmother could learn how to use this phone if she's never used this smartphone before even. Google Assistant is what makes this phone unique, and that's what Google is betting big on. And rumor is that Google Assistant is going to be featured in future Pixel as well as non-Pixel Android smartphones. So that we still have to see how true that is. But in my personal opinion, the Google Pixel is like Siri on steroids. And I did another video as well on 10 reasons why the Google Pixel is one of the best phones of this year. I think you should check that out as well. Now, both the reasons why it sucks and why it's one of the best phones out this year is kind of like nitpicking on the topics a little bit, but when it comes to smartphones, you guys know this better than I do, that it's all about the consumer, what works for you. If you like faster charging times because you're always on the run, then you're going to want a phone which is capable of charging with Qualcomm Quick Charging 3.0. If you like the faster performance or the faster gaming performance, you're going to want a phone which has better graphics. If you're someone who just likes to make phone calls, then you might want something with a better speakerphone or with a better microphone or with a separate DAC to listen to your music or something like that. So it all depends on your reasons and your features why you are interested in buying a phone. But overall, if I had to pick Pixel for the $750 price range, I would say nah, because it doesn't have wireless charging. It's not water resistant or waterproof. It is rain resistant. I believe it's IP53 but not IP68. So it is a great phone. It's snappy fast, but it is a phone targeted towards your average consumer, not towards the techies. And I personally believe myself to be a techie. That's why I love fondling with these phones. So if you don't like to tweak your phone much when it comes out of the box and you just expect it to work and you expect it to work 24/7 and you expect it to work fast and you want help right when you have a problem with your phone, the Google Support 24/7 is what makes that easy. So I would say $750 price point is not a negative for this phone. It's not a positive for this phone. It all depends on what you like. In personal opinion, if you are a techie, if you consider yourself to be a techie, if you like fondling with your phones, if you like changing the software, the UI, the themes, changing the backgrounds, this, that, then I would recommend you go with one of the other Android phones from LG or Samsung or perhaps even HTC. But if you're someone who has the Apple operating system, whether you have a Mac or an iPad or even Apple TV, you could give this phone a try, but it would be easier for you to not transition from your current Apple ecosystem, because that's what Apple has done. They've built the ecosystem, and that's what Google's trying to do with this and their new Google Home Assistant speaker that they're coming out with, to be able to build the ecosystem. So because once you get stuck in the ecosystem, it really is hard to come out. So if you are an Apple fan and you like Apple phones, I wouldn't say this is something which is going to turn you over and completely blow you away. But if you're someone who has a phone which you purchased before 2015 or even in 2015, you could go for this phone. I would say Google is just a year late with this phone. In 2016, we're seeing waterproof phones, and this phone kind of lacks that, and that kind of has become the benchmark bar now. Now, if that doesn't matter to you, this phone could end up costing you slightly more than the other phones in this range, and I would suggest some better phones. We will be putting this phone up against the OnePlus 3, the ZTE Exxon 7, the Honor 8, and the Alcatel Idol 4S to show you what a $400 smartphone can do that a $750 smartphone can or cannot do. So please make sure to check out those videos, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, below is the subscribe button. Please go ahead and click that. If you like the video, and in the comment section, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please make sure to address that in the comment section below.